In this world where people could only use one attribute magic, an 8-year-old boy from another world was exceptional. After receiving the highest magic power and healing magic attribute, he became curious about testing the other attribute. By imagining the image he needs to form, he easily learned all the attributes like wind, fire, water, earth, healing, and body enhancement. This story wasn't your typical story, like dungeons or fighting monsters. It's more about creation and bringing his modern knowledge into this world. Before I spoil the fun, let's start the story. The MC was lying down on the floor after falling down the stairs, barely conscious, when he heard voices calling out to him. They were being too noisy. He hopes they'd quiet down because his head hurt so much. Also, who's Leon? They've been calling out this name since earlier, but he's Ryosuke Ichigaya. Whatever, he'll just go back to sleep. This is probably just a dream, and once he wakes up, everything will be normal. A few hours later, he woke up stretching his arms. He really slept well. However, he soon paused when he looked around and noticed he was inside an unfamiliar room. Where the hell is he? It can't be that was not a dream. He's sure class at the university had just ended and he was heading home. Right, he left the university, and then, what was it that happened? He couldn't remember. It was like something exploded. No, this won't work. He can't remember a thing. Truck-kun was on a day off and now people are getting isekai'd with memory loss. He frustratedly scratched his head, but he turned even more confused when he saw his hands. Aren't his hands smaller than usual? None of this makes sense. Now that he thought about it, they were calling him Leon in that dream. Could he have become Leon? No, that's ridiculous. But as he said that, memories flashed inside his head. He clutched his head and questioned what those memories were. Has he really become Leon? He plopped back down on his bed with a more calm expression. According to Leon's memories, this place isn't Japan, nor is it Earth. At that moment, the door to his room opened, and a woman wearing an apron entered to check if he was awake and feeling okay. She's Leon's mom, but she's a complete stranger to him. Ryosuke, no, he's Leon now, asked if he fell down the stairs. That's right, she was really worried about him. Leon apologized and promised to be more careful from now on. His mom smiled upon hearing that and invited him for breakfast. But since he wasn't feeling too well, he skipped it for now. His mom patted his head. In that case, he should get more rest until lunch. Once she was gone, Leon sighed. He needs to sort this out. So, did he die back on Earth? He wants to go back, but that's probably impossible. And he just got into his first choice university too. Guess he'll never see his family or friends again. Leon sighed, covering his face as he shed tears. Suddenly, he sat up, his tears gone, and replaced with a determined expression. Anyway, for now he needs to understand his current situation. He slapped his face in an attempt to get himself together and looked back on Leon's memories. Leon lives in a country called the Kingdom of Rathsrasia, in its capital, Lasria, where his family runs a diner. His dad's name is Jean, his mom is Rowana, and his little sister is Marie, a family of 4. When the diner is open, he helps around the house, and on his days off he plays in the forest with the local kids. More importantly, magic exists in this world. Magic comes in 6 attributes: fire, water, wind, earth, physical enhancement, and healing. Most people can use magic from just one attribute. They say one gets their magic tested at the church when they turn 8. Leon just turned 8 recently, so he's scheduled to go soon. Man, he's really looking forward to this. As far as Leon's living environment goes, his bed has a wooden frame, but it's just straw with a sheet on top. Lighting is from candles. And windows don't even have glass. It's way more primitive than Earth. Alright, what should he do now? Guess he'll explore the house a bit and do a little house tour. When he reached the edge of the bed, he was baffled to see shoes that were woven from grass. He wore it, and as expected, they're kind of itchy. He doubts that this is the only kind of shoe in this world, but he'll deal with it for now. First, he tried leaving the room and looking around the hallway. He entered the room across from the one he was in, but there was nothing but baskets inside. It's probably used as a storage. Since no one was there, he went down the stairs instead and landed on a hallway with 3 doors. He entered the door at the right side first and was greeted by a toilet that looked straight out of his worst nightmare, it being just a hole in the floor. Leon's expression turned dark and closed the door without another word. Then, he peeked inside the second door. The room seems to be a dining room. There was a door at the very back, which he also decided to explore. It leads outside, where a well was located. It seems they wipe their body with cloth using the basin by the well. Is there no bath here? Guess he'll try the next room. Maybe Rowana's in there? Leon opened the door that led to the kitchen, where his parents, Jean and Rowana, were preparing food. They noticed him, and Rowana asked what the matter was. Leon apologized for worrying them and assured them that he was totally fine now. Jean thought that was a relief when Rowana suddenly turned back to him and rushed him to move, or else they wouldn't make it in time for opening. John apologized and got right back to preparing the food. Leon had a smile as he watched his parents before asking Rowana about Marie. She's cleaning the diner alone, so Rowana asked him if he could go help her, to which Leon agreed. Rowana called out to Marie and told her that her brother Leon was coming to help as well. Marie cheered since it's been so hard by herself. She approached them, asking Leon if he was okay, and scolding him for being clumsy. Leon was taken aback by his sister's cuteness and reminded himself that he needs to make sure he doesn't do anything questionable. Marie called out to him repeatedly, snapping him out of his trance. Leon looked away, asking what was up. Marie inspected him, asking if his head was still hurting. Leon assured her that he was fine now and pulled up his sleeves, claiming that it was time for him to get to work. Marie stared at him suspiciously before giving up and telling him to go clean outside while she cleans the dining area. Leon agreed and walked out of the door, relieved that no one suspects anything yet. When he got outside, he was greeted by the bustling noise of the town and the people doing their own thing. He exclaimed in amazement, though he quickly caught his mouth. This was amazing. But this isn't Japan. This is definitely another world. He's got to live here from now on, huh? If only he'd ended up somewhere nicer. Leon sighed before smacking his cheeks. No. There's no use thinking about that now. He's gotta focus on cleaning. Suddenly he bumped into someone and ended up falling back on the ground. The man he bumped into him asked if he was okay and apologized for bumping into him. Leon looked up at him confusedly before quickly getting up in a panic and bowing to apologize and asking if he was hurt. He glanced up carefully and internally panicked when he saw the man frowning. Oh no, he replied politely out of habit, even though he's supposed to be a kid right now. The man confirmed if he was the child from this diner and asked where he learned to speak like that. Leon stuttered, wondering what to do. He fidgeted, claiming that he learned it from a local. An old man, perhaps. Yeah, an old man taught him. He thinks? The man's frown turned into a smile before patting him on the head. Leon finally breathed a sigh of relief. The man apologized again for bumping into him and asked if he was sure he's okay. Leon answered affirmatively and apologized as well. The man introduced himself as Frederick, and Leon did the same. Frederick seemed to know him as he knew that Leon's family runs this diner. Before leaving, he promised to stop by next time, to which Leon happily replied that he'll be waiting. Leon bid Frederick goodbye and finally let out a sigh. Did he manage to cover it up? Wait a second. Now that he thought about it, why was he able to use polite speech? And he completely understands what everyone says. Then, what about reading? He tried to write his name on the ground and it seems like he can read and write normally. What's going on? He's not from here, so that shouldn't be possible. Oh well, it's convenient, so whatever. Just then, Marie peeked from the door and asked if he's done cleaning. Leon quickly grabbed the broom and began sweeping, saying it might take a bit longer. Marie suspected that he was slacking, which he denied and claimed that he was almost done. He urged her to go back inside. She didn't seem convinced though, but decided to drop it and just reminded him that it's almost opening time, so he should hurry up. When she went back inside, Leon quickly began cleaning, and just as he finished, the sound of a bell rang through the town. In this country, the church bells ring 4 times a day to mark morning, noon, evening, and bedtime. The bell ringing now is the noon bell. Leon's heart almost jumped out of his body from shock when Marie suddenly slammed the door open to ask if he was done. The noon bell already rang, meaning it's opening time. Leon told her that he's done. If he is, then he should stop standing around and help with the store. Leon was about to go inside when Marie reminded him that he was supposed to secure the door first. He just apologized, claiming that he forgot, and did as she said. Finally, a customer entered their diner, asking if they were open. Marie welcomed him and after taking his order, served the steak set on his table. Then they welcomed the next customer, who also ordered the steak set. Rowana announced that the steak set was ready, and Leon served it to customer tables. Once the customers finished eating, he'd take the dirty dishes and clean the table up for new customers. And just like that, they were done for the day. Jean commended everyone for a job well done, and they prepared to eat. Rowana asked if Leon was eating as well, to which he agreed. He was really starving after all that work. Rowana brought out 2 steaks that were left today and split it between all of them. The kids cheered, wanting to eat a lot. She asked them to wait in the living room as she set the table. And finally, after waiting, it's time to eat. Leon was surprised that people in this world say something like, "Let's eat too." He wasn't sure, but it's convenient, so whatever. He took a bite of the steak and was genuinely amazed by how delicious it was. The meat tastes just like those steaks from Japan, so he was excited to taste the bread. However, it was so hard, like an ultra-hard baguette. The flavor's fine, but it's hard to eat. The soup isn't bad, but it's just salty, probably because there's no dashi. The stir-fried veggies also are just plain tasty. All in all, if he doesn't expect too much, the food's pretty good. After the meal, Leon thanked them for the food and watched his family converse and laugh with each other. This isn't a luxurious life by any means, but he's got kind parents and an adorable little sister. He's happy and he's going to treasure this family in this new world. Though it looks like there's a lot he'll need to do. Since Rowana and Jean had to get ready for the evening, Rowana urged the 2 to go play. Marie stood up, slamming the table. She forgot that she promised to go to the forest today with Nicola and Luke. Leon was surprised to hear that, so Marie turned to him and questioned if he forgot. Leon immediately denied, claiming that he remembered and that they needed to get ready quickly. Marie excitedly dragged Leon upstairs so they could change shoes and grab their things before leaving. They went to a shop owned by their friend's family and asked about Nicola and Luke. The mom told them they'll be there soon, so Marie asked about their uncle, Nicola, and Luke's father. He's out getting supplies right now, but she thinks he'll be back by the time they return from the forest. Leon turned to the room when he heard noises inside, and as if on cue, Nicola opened the door, and behind him was his little brother, Luke. Once they were all set, they all went to pick some fruits. They passed by the village and into the forest. While walking, Luke asked Nicola if he thinks they can get lots of fruit today, but the fruits aren't ripe yet, so maybe not. Hearing that, Marie's face immediately fell, making Nicola nervously say that there are still some they can pick around this time before turning to Leon. Seriously, he's asking him? Leon told them that they might be able to get raspberries right now, immediately lighting up Marie's mood. They ran around the forest to find raspberries, and when they found some, they went and harvested a bunch. Nicola suggested eating some, so they did. They were sweet and amazing. Hearing their praises, Leon decided to try one, but it ended up being extremely sour. They call this sweet? It seems that for them, sweet means forest fruits. That might be fine for everyone else, but he already knows a lot of sweet things. Finding sugar is now urgent. Marie called him to start picking firewood and head home. When they got back, they were greeted by Nicola and Luke's mom. Marie asked if their uncle Ben was now here, so the mom called out to her husband, who emerged from the room and carried Marie. Then he bent down to ruffle Leon's hair, who complained that his hair would get messy. They bid goodbye and went home, but before they could enter the diner, Marie pointed out that Leon has been spaced out lately and doesn't respond when she talks to him sometimes. Leon countered that wasn't true and insisted that he's listening properly. In that case, it's fine, but he should make sure that he does listen. The two entered and greeted their parents, who asked how their day went. Marie excitedly showed off her bag full of raspberries. Jean praised her before taking the bag. Since there's so many, they can all eat some after dinner. Leon asked if there was something sweet they could use for after dinner. Rowana asked why. So Leon explained that he thought it'll taste even better if they add something. Rowana thought about it. Probably honey or sugar, but they don't sell it around their town. There might be some in the capital's central district, but most shops there only let nobles and their associates in, so they probably can't buy it. Plus, it's over 2 hours away by carriage. Then, she reminded him to be careful with nobles, since there are a lot of unreasonable ones. She doubts they'll come here, but still, he should be careful, because nobles are scary. Leon thanked her and gave up on sweet ingredients. He thought of another way to make it taste good, and like a light bulb popping on top of his head, he rushed towards the counter and asked permission to use the kitchen as he had an idea for a raspberry dish. Rowana didn't mind, but he's never cooked before. Leon just made an excuse that he watched them do it, so they finally agreed. Let him cook. She told Leon to put away his stuff with Marie's help while she gets everything ready. Once he got back, all the ingredients he might need were neatly prepared in a bowl. Leon thanked Rowana, who was curious about his cooking. Even John was looking forward to it too. Leon backed away, waving his hands and asking them not to get their hopes up too much. Those intense eyes were quite the pressure. Rowana asked if he needed anything else. For that recipe, he might need flour and eggs, so he asked for them. She asked what they were for, but Leon just told them to watch and see. Once the ingredients he asked for were all set, Rowana asked what he'll do with it. Well, he's going to mix all of it and whisk it until he's got the perfect consistency, Rowana exclaimed in confusion. It's all gooey now. Leon assured her that that's how it's supposed to be. However, she still seemed worried. So Jean convinced her to let Leon do it since he seemed motivated right now. Well, that's true. Leon continued preparing the dish. He was grabbing the bowl of raspberries when he noticed his parents' worried expressions. They thought that was already the finished dish, so Leon assured them it wasn't done yet and to just watch. He added a bit of raspberries to the mixture, and ta-da! The batter is done. Now, he just needs to cook it. Rowana crouched down and lit the fire using magic. Leon watched in awe. It was so cool. This really is a different world. Rowana noticed him spacing out and asked what was wrong. Shouldn't he start cooking now? Leon apologized. It was because he was so fascinated by magic. Rowana chuckled and assured him that he'll also be able to use it once they visit the church soon. Before cooking, Leon asked for butter and spread it all over the pan before dumping the batter he made. If he remembers correctly, he needs to flip it once bubbles start to appear. He lifted the pancake and peeked under. It's already cooked quite a bit, so he needs to flip it now, but he's not doing it right. Just then, Jean asked if he could let him try. Leon handed him the spatula, and Jean flipped it without much trouble. His dad's amazing. Rowana wasn't sure how it'd go before they cooked it, but it turned out well. Leon checked the pancake and waited for it to cook. Once it was done, they plated and served it on the table. Jean praised Leon and asked when he learned to cook like this, but Leon just giggled. Then Rowana called Marie so they could start eating. Leon watched his family eat the pancake, nervous they wouldn't like it, but they liked it very much. The batter's so chewy and tasty, and the raspberry's sweetness really stands out. It's surprising. Leon beamed, glad that everyone's enjoying it. Once again, the church bell rang to signify that it's now evening. It's already this late. Time to start the evening shift. After an hour, Rowana commended the two for doing a good job. Most customers at night come for drinks and snacks, so he and Marie's work ends in about an hour, and they often eat dinner together with just the two of them. Marie talked about the delicious raspberry dish Leon made earlier, and he clarified that it was called a pancake. He named it. Though the taste and texture are totally different, Marie wanted to eat it again, so he promised to make it another time after picking a lot of raspberries again. When they went to bed, Leon chuckled when he saw that Marie's already asleep. She must have been tired. Even though it was just one day, so much happened. He's actually super tired too. He bid the sleeping Marie a good night before laying down to sleep. And like that, Leon's new life in another world began. The next day, he jolted awake when he noticed the unfamiliar room he was in before calming down, after remembering that he was reincarnated as Leon in an alternate world. It really wasn't a dream. His day went on like usual, eating with his family. Their mom, Rowana, asked about their plans for the day. Marie's going to the market stalls with Luke, and asked Leon if he wanted to come, but he had to pass since he had some plans today. After eating, Leon bid them goodbye and decided to go to the side opposite the forest. He arrived at the center of the plaza and passed by the stalls Marie was talking about. He found some interesting shops and went there to explore. It seems like there are a lot of workshops in that area. He paused before a shop that had only a sign with letters. He read it and was excited to learn that it was a magic artifact workshop. Could it be something like a machine? He wants to see it. He peeked inside the door, calling out for the owner. When no one answered, he called out more loudly. At that moment, a door inside creaked open, and an old man emerged from it, complaining about his loudness and asking what he wanted. The old man was surprised to hear that Leon was interested in magical artifacts and asked if he could read and understand the letters on his sign. Leon was taken aback by the old man's intense stare and wondered what to do. He just made up an excuse that there was someone nearby who could read, though there's no one like that. Is it really something that rare? Well, for commoners, it is. The old man pointed to him, asking if he also learned that way of speaking since he's been using formal language for a while now. And besides, he uses it very naturally, which makes him wonder about his identity. Sweat dripped down Leon's forehead as the old man looked at him very suspiciously. After a while, the old man let out a sigh. He supposed he also had a good teacher. Leon was curious to ask if he was a noble. Not exactly one, but he was what they would call a semi-noble, not very different from a commoner. That's what they call the children of nobles who aren't the firstborn. Leon wondered if those who aren't firstborns can't become nobles. Well, not exactly. If they achieve some great merit, they can receive a title called Noble Knight, valid for only one generation. It's quite a well-structured system. Even if they're born a noble, that doesn't guarantee a safe life forever. He flinched when he opened his eyes and realized that the old man had been staring at him. The old man laughed. Despite being just a child, Leon understood such complicated matters. He didn't think he'd meet such an interesting child at his age, but he shouldn't go around showing off that kind of thing because there are a lot of ill-intentioned people out there. Now that he thought about it, didn't he say he was interested in magical artifacts? Leon answered affirmatively. He was about to forget the main topic. He asked what exactly is a magical artifact since he'd never seen one before. Of course he hadn't. Magical artifacts are expensive and only circulate among nobles. Besides, their materials are also very valuable, so it's unlikely their price will ever go down. Leon dropped to the floor, feeling defeated. No way. And here he thought he had finally found something useful. He turned back to the old man and asked what exactly those materials were. They are magic stone and magic iron. Magic stone is like a transparent gem and is used to manifest the magic infused into it. Meanwhile, magic iron is a type of iron that can freely change when magical energy is transmitted into it. It's shaped with magic iron. The magic stone is embedded, and that's how it's made. That's what they call a magical artifact. So, it's like a machine. Leon wants one. He asked where he can get one, but his dream was crushed when the old man told him that he can't, since all the mines where magic stones and magic iron are extracted are state-owned, and their manufacturing is also in state-run workshops. Leon couldn't believe it and slumped down on the table, weeping. He's trapped. Besides sugar, magical artifacts are also monopolized by the nobles. Wait, then, what is this place? He raised his head and asked why this workshop was here. It was because this place is special. The old man used to work in a state workshop but recently retired. Even so, he wanted to keep making magical artifacts, so instead of fully retiring, he started this workshop. Leon wondered if it's that easy to start one, and the old man replied that it wasn't. In exchange for the title he received for his achievements and inventions, he was authorized to open his own workshop. Now he spends his days freely devising new magical artifacts. So this workshop is probably unique, meaning coming here was very lucky. Leon beamed, asking if the old man would sell them to him if he had money. However, the old man shook his head and apologized. It must be to avoid wasting such valuable materials. But Leon is determined. He's the son of diner owners, just a simple commoner. But still, is there any way for him to obtain a magical artifact? The old man thought about it. There might be a chance if he goes to the Royal Academy. Leon wondered if even commoners could attend, and the old man explained that if he passes the exam, then anyone can get in. Tuition and school supplies are free, but he has to live in the city center, and everyone there is a noble. That means living expenses and socializing will cost money. From what Leon heard, the school lasts 5 years, from age 11 to 15. The entrance exam is at the end of winter, and classes start in spring. As for studying, he thinks he'll manage. Now he just needs to get some money. Leon asked if he could sell him his idea for a magic artifact. The old man agreed, though it depends on the idea. But he should keep in mind that the registration and usage rights will be under his name. Is that still okay with him? It seems to be some kind of patent. Even so, Leon agreed without hesitation. Then, he suddenly remembered that he had to get back before the night bell. The old man told him that he could come again another day. Before leaving, Leon introduced himself and asked for the old man's name. It was Marcel. And so, Leon bid goodbye and left Marcel's workshop. 4 days later, Leon came back and Marcel greeted him before inviting him inside since he wanted to see magical artifacts. Leon followed Marcel into his workshop and exclaimed in amazement when he saw the magical artifacts stored inside, and the magic iron and magic stones Marcel told him about. Leon excitedly asked if this was the workshop, to which Marcel replied with a nod and urged him to have a seat. He thought it would be easier to explain it here. First, the most famous magical artifact is this one above their heads. Leon was so surprised that he almost blurted out its name in the modern world before catching his mouth. Marcel continued. It's a light sphere, and has a magic stone with a healing attribute embedded. When healing light magic is infused, it seems to shine for 30 days. To turn off the light, one can remove the magic stone. The switch seems like it could be made by applying a machine's mechanism, and maybe someday they'll let Leon try it. Leon was curious what other kinds are there, so Marcel told him that there's the fan, the running water system, and also the flush toilet. He showed it to Leon, who was frustrated that such useful things are monopolized, making him envy the nobles even more. Nowadays, the commonly used ones are these 4. Now, about the reward. If the idea is good, he'll give Leon 1 gold coin. If it becomes a magical artifact registered at the royal palace, he'll pay him 5 platinum coins. Leon was in a daze, not really understanding the value of money, so Marcel explained it to him. In this world, there are 6 types of coins, from iron coins to platinum coins, and by collecting 10 coins of one type, they can be exchanged for one of higher value. So, if they consider that 1 iron coin equals 10 yen, then it's 100,000 yen and 5 million yen. It's actually a small amount. Marcel laughed. Isn't that too much? It's because the client is a noble that he incredibly earns a lot. Magical artifacts are really amazing. Leon thanked him, claiming that he'll do his best to come up with new magical artifacts. The reward will be deposited into his bank account. Ah, right. He doesn't have a bank account. Then, they'll have to go make them. Leon asked if a child can even do that, and Marcel explained that he could if he had the money. Going alone would raise suspicion, but if they go together, it'll be fine. They'll have to go to the city center. So Marcel asked when's a good time for Leon, but Leon asked if he could ask his parents first, which was not a problem. Then he'll come again. Leon bid goodbye and thanked him for today. Marcel waved back and watched him walk away. What can he say? He's a very interesting child. When Leon got back home, he told his parents that he wanted to go to the Central District. However, Rowana seemed hesitant to let him go, especially since he's going with someone he just met and possibly be suspicious. Leon tried to convince her, explaining that Marcel is an old man who runs a workshop, and he even let him visit today. Seeing his mom's still doubtful expression, he asked if it really wasn't allowed. Eventually she agreed since he's already 8 years old. But if he feels like it's dangerous, she advised him to run away immediately to a guard station or a shop. Then, she suggested going to the church after lunch tomorrow because it's safer if he can use even a little magic. In that case, Leon will inform Marcel before heading out tomorrow. With this, he'll finally be able to use magic. It was early morning the next day when Leon visited Marcel's shop to let him know that his parents had allowed him to go to the Central District tomorrow. Marcel was happy to hear that and suggested meeting here first. Then, Leon left and came back home to have lunch. Once they were done, Rowana told Leon to get ready while she did the dishes. After that, the four of them set out to go to the church. Noticing the buildings on each side of the church, Leon asked his mom what they were for. Those buildings are the healing center and the orphanage. Every church has them. When they entered, a nun greeted them and asked for their business. It was Jean who answered. He'd like his son Leon's magical power measured. The nun showed them the way, and Leon followed with his heart going, "Doki doki. It's finally happening." Leon followed behind her as she entered a room and sat across from her. Now, they'll begin the magical power measurement. She asked Leon to place his hand on the magical artifact before them. Once he does, his magic will automatically be drawn out, so he should remember how that feels. Leon did as she said, and magic power poured out from his hand to the device. Once it was enough, the nun checked his magical power level, but was stunned when she saw that it was 5, the highest possible value. That's amazing. Now, they're going to find out what his attribute is. There are 6 types of magic attributes. He can try casting the simplest spell for each, and whichever one works will be his attribute. Leon wanted to try healing first, so she suggested trying the light spell. All he had to do was extend his index finger and imagine the tip glowing, then say light. He should picture the light that enters the room when he opens a window during the day. The most important thing in magic is the image. If he infuses the image with magical power, the spell will activate. Once he gets used to it, he'll be able to use it without chanting. Leon closed his eyes and took her advice before chanting, light. He opened his eyes in surprise at the light on his fingertip. It really worked. How amazing. Magic is so cool. That means his attribute is healing. Once he gets the hang of magic, it's all about practice, and he shouldn't forget to keep imagining. Leon was taught that the healing attribute includes heal, which mends wounds, and purification, which cleans dirt. He also learned that if he runs out of magical power, he'll lose consciousness, so he better be careful. Since his magical power is 5, he might even be able to heal fractures. Leon wondered if it can cure illnesses, but she denied. It can only cure injuries, though he wonders if he really can't cure illnesses. They say magic depends on the image and magical power, so it might be possible. When he left the room, he was greeted by his family outside with Marie running over to him. He informed them that his magical power is 5, and that his attribute is healing. That's amazing. Then he'll be fine even if he gets hurt. Though, Rowana suggests to Marie to still be careful not to get injured, and so, they went home to celebrate. Once Leon was alone, he tried practicing his magic. First, light. He wondered if he could change the size of the light and maybe make it a little brighter, so he tried imagining it, and it really did happen. It seems like the size and color of the light can be changed, just as he imagined. Next, he tried casting it without chanting and just imagined. Leon smiled. It worked. Magic is amazing, though he doesn't understand how it works. Next, the one he most wanted to master, heal, but he doesn't have any injuries to test it on. Ugh, he hates pain, but it can't be helped. He picked up a knife, which was conveniently on the table, and made a small cut on his index finger. If he can't heal this, it'll be the worst. Leon closed his eyes and imagined healing his wound. And it worked. It's completely healed. By imagining the healing process in detail, the healing time and magical power consumption were reduced. If he can imagine it, he might be able to heal bigger wounds or even illnesses. But for now, there's no way to test that. He just hopes that he doesn't get the chance to try. Next, he'll try purification, the spell that cleans. He grabbed a dirty box and chanted the spell, cleaning the box. Now it looks brand new. Maybe he can use it on his body too. He'll try. He casted the spell on himself and was surprised that his whole body feels refreshed. This might solve the bath problem too. Alright, while he's at it, he'll clean this room as well. He raised his hand, excitedly shouting, purification. However, he soon staggered and fell to the floor, falling unconscious. He was still lying on the floor when he woke up. It looks like he used too much magical power. He needs to be aware of his own magic capacity since recovery might also take a while. Now that he thinks about it, he didn't try the other attributes. He wondered what would happen if he tried to use them and decided to give it a shot. First, he chanted spark, and a small fire appeared above his fingertip. His eyes widened and he exclaimed in shock. What was going on? They're only supposed to be able to use one attribute, right? Could it be that he can use other attributes too? He'll test it out. First, he grabbed an empty bucket and tried water magic, which worked, filling up the bucket with water. Next, wind, earth. Then, physical enhancement. Leon stood frozen in shock. He can use all of them. Water, earth, Fire, wind, healing, physical enhancement. The 6 nations long ago lived in harmony. Afterwards, everything changed with the attack of the Fire Nation. Only the Avatar could possibly stop them, the master of all 6 elements. But in the time of the world's great need, he disappeared. After 100 years, we finally found the new Avatar, reincarnated into another world named Leon. Kidding aside, this is definitely something he shouldn't let others know since they might turn him into a test subject. He absolutely has to keep quiet. But for how long? Carrying this alone forever is too painful. Wait, that's it. There's Marcel. If it's him, he feels like it's okay to talk to him. Oh right. He wanted to try making ice. He tried to think about it. Maybe it's water that freezes with a little stimulation? Ice forms when water molecules stop moving, right? He should have studied more. It just looks like ordinary water. Oh right, he needs to stimulate the water. He tried shaking the bucket, and with that, the water turned into ice. Leon smiled happily at his accomplishment, thinking he might be able to make a refrigerator with this. Just then, he was called for dinner, so he hurriedly fixed the mess he made and went back inside. The next morning, Leon woke up early and left to meet with Marcel. Today's finally the day he goes to the Central District, and he even got his allowance. When he got to Marcel's shop, there's no sign of the old man outside. He might have come too early. So Leon knocked on the door, calling out to him. Just a few seconds and the door opened, with Marcel saying he was quite early. That's because he couldn't sit still. Since Marcel still wasn't completely ready, he asked Leon to wait for a moment. When he came back outside a few minutes later, he apologized for the wait and they began to head out. Marcel pointed to where the carriage stop was and explained that they're catching one earlier than planned, so they'll have time to relax once they arrive. Noticing Leon's stare, Marcel asked what was wrong. Leon immediately claimed that it was nothing before turning back to the front, thinking that even though he lives in the capital, he can still feel the gap between rich and poor just by looking at the clothes. Then, he asked about the carriage fare since he only had a few copper coins. However, he was flabbergasted when he learned that it was about 1 copper coin. Marcel chuckled at his reaction and assured him not to worry about it since he plans to cover everything except the account setup. Leon was about to protest, but Marcel cut him off, explaining that he had no children or grandchildren, so it makes him happy when Leon is pleased. He could just think of it as an old man's selfish wish and accept it gratefully. Leon thanked him, while Marcel just chuckled. This solidified his thoughts yesterday, that if it's Marcel, then maybe he really can tell him about his attribute. The two approached the carriage to the Central District and Marcel paid 2 copper coins for them. Leon excitedly stepped inside the carriage as it was his first time riding one. He sat next to a couple and greeted them, excitedly anticipating the carriage ride. And so, they arrived at the Central District. Leon got down, holding his aching back. He underestimated the carriage. His bum hurts so much. Both the seat and the road are painful. Marcel asked what was wrong and urged him to go, so Leon followed behind him, still massaging his lower back. As they walked through the town, Leon looked around in awe at the grand houses they saw on the way. He asked where the nobles' mansions were, and Marcel responded that they're further up ahead. This area is where the barons live. The higher the rank, the closer their mansions are to the royal castle. It seems like even among nobles, there's a big difference depending on their title. Maybe being a noble isn't all that easy. Since they were heading to the bank, Leon asked if there were any shared carriages around here, and Marcel told him that there wasn't, because nobles used their own carriages. But don't commoners use the bank too? Well, those commoners all own carriages themselves. Then, Marcel announced their arrival. Leon looked forward and was amazed to see a beautiful building before them. They walked inside and passed by soldiers standing guard outside. Once they approached the front desk, Marcel stated that they were here to open an account for Leon and asked if they could do it right away. The staff turned to Leon in confusion and thought he doesn't really look like he needs a bank account. Also, accounts are deactivated after 3 years of inactivity, but Marcel insisted that it's fine. The staff had no choice but to give them a form to fill out. Leon meticulously filled it out and handed it back to the staff, who asked him to channel a bit of his magic into a crystal ball to record his magic signature after making sure that the form was good. Leon did as he said, and the crystal ball glowed for a while before returning back to normal, successfully registering his magic. The staff asked them to wait for a moment, so they sat down on a nearby bench, with Leon asking Marcel about the crystal ball. It's a crystal that can register magic, used for identity verification. It was found about 100 years ago in a church deep in the forest. Apparently there were about 100 of them. After extensive research, they discovered all the crystals are linked and can identify individuals through magic. So they started using them in banks. Leon thought they must have been made by someone, but they're actually believed to be divine relics, or so they say. Divine relics are items of unknown origin that never break or deteriorate, and some relics found still have unknown purposes. Could it be that there really is a god in this world? Their conversation was cut short when the staff came back to hand them Leon's bank card. All he had to do was show it at the counter and confirm his identity using his magic. Then, he'll be able to deposit, withdraw, or transfer money. If he loses his card, reissuing it will cost 3 silver coins, so he should be careful. Also, creating the account itself costs 1 silver coin. Leon flinched in shock at how expensive it was, but Marcel just calmly paid for it. Leon followed behind him and asked if he really was okay with paying for something so expensive. Well, didn't he say he'd cover everything today? That part was included in their agreement, not that he has to deduct it or anything. More importantly, he should get a case so he doesn't lose his card. Now then, they're off to sightseeing in the Central District. The two walked around, with Marcel explaining some things to Leon from time to time. Then, he suggested having lunch first. There are fancy restaurants, stylish cafes, and commoner-friendly diners too. Leon suggested the diner, but Marcel wanted to go to a stylish cafe instead. Truth is, he'd have preferred a restaurant, but they have a dress code, though they could buy outfits just for that. Hearing that, Leon insisted on going to a cafe instead, not wanting to spend any more that necessary. When they entered the cafe, they sat on a table the waitress guided them to. She handed them the menu and asked them to call her over once they're done ordering. Marcel asked what Leon wanted, and the latter asked for a minute to browse the menu first. There's toast, French toast, jam toast, sandwiches. There's even some he doesn't recognize, and some he never heard of. After much deliberation, he decided on having a sandwich and French toast. Marcel asked what he wanted for drinks, so Leon browsed the menu again, surprised that even drinks have a menu in the Central District. They've got black tea, green tea, and fruit juice. Wait, did he just see green tea? This world kind of feels like it's got a Japanese vibe to it, making him wonder why. Maybe they use the same tea leaves. What's going on here? He can't exactly ask anyone, so he'll just stop thinking about it. Then, he turned to Marcel to say that he wanted black tea for drinks. Marcel called the waitress over and told her their order. While they wait for their food, Leon asks if noble cuisine is way more advanced than what commoners eat. That's right, it's developed rapidly since the war ended over 10 years ago. Lately, new cooking methods have been popping up too. And also, they can import sugar now, so sweet dishes are more common. Then, that means commoner meals will improve as well, though that's still a long way off. Leon groaned in annoyance. It's just the nobles again. He's so jealous. He wants to be a noble. But first, he's got to get into the Royal Academy. At that moment, their orders arrived, so they began to dig in. Leon noticed the way Marcel used the silverwares. It seems like it's used the same way even in another world. He sliced a piece of bread, which wasn't hard like the one he ate before, and took a bite of it. It was so delicious. The chicken and the sauce, no, everything was incredibly tasty. Next, he took a bite of the French toast, and it was so good. It's sweet and unbelievably delicious. That's sugar sweetness for you. He can't believe food can make him this happy. Even the tea's good. Meals really are important. Marcel asked if it was good. Good? It was amazing. Leon was so thankful that he was able to try these foods thanks to him. Marcel was glad to hear that since seeing him happy is all that matters. Next, they decided to go shopping as they needed to get a card holder from a leather goods shop. They entered one, and were greeted by the staff, who asked what they're looking for today. Marcel wanted to buy a bank card holder that hangs from the neck and could hold a bit of money. The staff showed some of the card holders they have that do that exact same thing and have Leon pick one. Once he did, Marcel paid 5 silver coins for it. It was so expensive. As they walk out, Marcel tells Leon to put his card in it so he doesn't lose it. Leon did as he said and thanked him. Marcel assured him that it's fine. He had no one to spend money on, so it piles up, and he plans to have him earn for him from now on anyway. In that case, Leon will do his best to come up with something. But Marcel assured him that there's no need to rush it. Well then, they should start heading back. Leon agreed, but while he was talking, he suddenly stumbled and was about to bump into a girl when someone stepped in front to block her, causing Leon to bump into that person instead before falling back on his bottoms. The person asked if he was okay, but when Leon looked up, he exclaimed in confusion, "Isn't this man Frederick?" Frederick also recognized him from the diner. Leon bowed, apologizing for bumping into him again, and Frederick assured him that it was fine since it was his fault this time. Just then, the girl approached them to ask what was going on and if he knew Leon. While Frederick explained, Leon wondered who she was as she was so insanely cute, like a little doll. The girl introduced herself as Martine and apologized for bumping into him earlier and asked if he was okay. Leon also introduced himself, claiming that he should be the one apologizing since it was because he stumbled. Wait a second. Didn't Frederick call her Sama earlier? Doesn't that mean she's of high status? Marcel approached them and asked what was wrong, so Leon immediately explained that he accidentally bumped into Frederick. Marcel was about to apologize when he recognized Frederick. Same goes for Frederick, who asked if he was the Marcel he knew. So Marcel introduced himself as Marcel Conroli. Martine called out to Frederick and whispered something before greeting Marcel, who responded affirmatively. She turned to Leon and asked him to also refer to her more casually. She then wondered if Leon was a commoner and asked why he was in the Central District. Leon answered an affirmation and explained that Marcel has been showing him around. It's his first time in the Central District. It's so lively and fun, and even the food was amazing. He was truly moved. Right. Martine agreed that walking around town is fun. She loves it too. Then she asked what he ate, to which he replied that he ate French toast. It was so sweet and delicious. It made him feel happy. Martine gets it. She loves it too. Actually, she had a request. She wanted to be friends with him. They didn't know how it came to this, but they're now sitting awkwardly on the table, with Martine the only one smiling brightly. A few minutes ago, she asked Leon to be her friend, but Frederick stopped her, explaining that she can't just suddenly ask a stranger to be her friend. She understands that, but all the commoner children she's met so far wouldn't even look her in the eye. Leon's the only one who looks at her directly and speaks with her, and that made her incredibly happy. Besides, doesn't he know Marcel as well? But even then, he's saying that they're dangerous people? Frederick tried to explain, but Martine didn't give him a chance to do so, until he was left speechless. Seeing that he had nothing more to say, she suggested talking at a cafe somewhere, so they could get to know each other. And now, here they are, sitting together inside a cafe she picked. Martine was the first to break the silence, asking what relationship Leon and Marcel had. Marcel runs a magical tool workshop on the outskirts of the Western Royal Capital, and Leon came to visit him there. She got it, but she had more questions, like if Leon's house is nearby. Leon answered affirmatively, and explained that his parents actually run a diner over there. Martine would love to go there some other time, but Frederick stopped her again. After all, she promised to only go as far as the Central District. That is true, but still. Why is she not allowed to visit the house of a friend she just made? Leon observed Martine's sad expression. He thought nobles all had lots of friends and often held fancy tea parties and such. Isn't that the case? What should he do? When a girl makes that kind of face, one would just want to do something for her. He doesn't know the full story, but he assured her that there's no problem with her coming. Martine beamed, wondering if that really was okay. Frederick exclaimed that it wasn't okay at all before turning to Leon to apologize, as Martine is not in a position to go out so freely. It was obvious just by looking that a girl around Leon's age is unable to freely choose her friends, and he wonders if he can somehow let her take a break. So, he suggested that she come to his home as a hands-on training experience if she's never visited a commoner's house. Martine perked up as she turned to Frederick to ask for permission. Frederick still declined, but she cut him off, claiming that her father always says that it's important to know the lives of commoners. It's only by understanding commoners that good governance is possible. Isn't that right? Frederick didn't know how to refute that, so she took that chance to insist that she wants to go to this training. Finally, Frederick gave in and let her, receiving thanks from her. On that note, how did he and Leon even get to know each other? Frederick explained that he bumped into him when he went out to the outskirts of the capital. That made Martine pout, so he's been going outside the central district normally. That's unfair, though she'll forgive him if he brings her souvenirs from now on. Frederick agreed before clearing his throat and turning to Leon to ask what they were doing here at the central district. Leon explained that they were here to sightsee. Marcel said that since he hadn't been to the city center before, he'd take him. After accepting his explanation like it's nothing, Frederick began talking about food, asking if this cafe served bruschetta. Leon responded that they were, but it was obvious he was taken aback by the sudden change in topic. Frederick ordered 2 bruschettas while Leon sat with a red face, thinking that Frederick seemed to really be fixated on food. Just then, Martine ordered 1 choux à la crème. When she met Leon's eyes, she just smiled at him. Could it be that she was being considerate of him? It wasn't just her looks, but her personality is amazing too. Leon wondered what kind of dish is a choux à la crème. It's Martine's favorite dish. Since tasting is faster, they can exchange. He gets a bruschetta and she'll get choux à la crème. Leon agreed and thanked her. Once the food arrived, Frederick recommended trying the bruschetta. Then, he tasted the dishes first before nodding at Martine, as if telling her it was safe to eat. Leon stared at them in shock. Was that poison testing? As expected, nobles do have those customs. Whatever, he'll just eat. He took a bite of the bruschetta, and it was delish. The tomato and cheese matched perfectly. Indeed, it was exquisite. Frederick asked for his thoughts, and Leon, along with Marcel, claimed that it was delicious. Frederick was happy to hear that, and was glad to have recommended it. Martine handed a plate to Leon and told him to try the choux à la crème too. Leon took the plate and stared at the dish. They looked like boiled eggs, but there was something on top. Maybe olive oil? He'll know it when he tastes it. Oh, it's sweet. This is dessert. Is it honey? It's simple, but the sweetness is just right. Martine asked what he thought about it, and Leon happily exclaimed that it was very delicious, and he feels like he could eat as much as he wanted. Martine was happy to see that it matched his taste. Honestly, she wants more too, but she's only allowed 1 per day. Once they were done eating, Martine asked if Leon will inherit the diner someday. Leon thought about it. He wasn't sure because he's thinking of taking the royal school entrance exam, though he doesn't know if he'll pass. Martine couldn't believe it. He's going to the royal school as well. Well, maybe if he gets in. She assured him that he'll be fine, and Leon just awkwardly laughed it off. Frederick asked why he wanted to enter the royal school, so Leon explained that seeing magical tools at Marcel's workshop made him think they were wonderful. Also, he heard that if he graduates from the royal school, he'll have opportunities to handle magical tools. Frederick found him interesting. Most commoners just want to move up in life or earn lots of money. Martine agreed. Leon is the first type she met. All the children she's met before were spaced out and couldn't hold a conversation, or their intentions to get favored were so obvious she couldn't like them. Well, yeah, just gushing admiration or trying to get someone's favor ends up going nowhere. Leon wondered if he was strange, but Martine assured him that he wasn't. She actually likes Leon much more compared to those people. Leon looked away, blushing. Hearing that with those pure eyes, even his mental age of 20 can't handle it. Frederick interjected into their conversation, asking if he could study. Leon answered in affirmation, claiming that he can read and write, but he doesn't know what the exam will be like, so he needs study materials. That surprised Frederick. Didn't he need someone to teach him? Has he already mastered reading and writing? Leon covered his mouth in shock. He said something unnecessary. It can't be helped. He just answered that he did have someone teach him. Frederick questioned where he learned to read and write. Was it the same person who taught him honorifics? That's right. His grandfather taught him. Frederick sighed. He's really fortunate. He was taught not just honorifics, but even reading and writing as well. This grandfather of his must have been quite the teacher. Leon just smiled. He's sticking with this backstory, but he's definitely still being suspected. Or at least it feels that way. Martine asked to confirm if it's fine to give Leon some of the teaching materials, to which Frederick agreed. He was just about to suggest the same. In that case, he'll prepare Leon's materials and bring them to his house the next time he gets a day off. Leon was happy to hear that and thanked him. Well then, Frederick and Martine should head back for today. Martine complained, wanting to stay a bit longer. However, Frederick refused as they've already gone past the allotted time. If they stay any longer, they won't get the next permission. Hearing that, Martine finally stood up and agreed to head back. She's looking forward to the day she can visit the diner, and Frederick promised to bring the materials next time. Once they were gone, Leon let out a relaxed sigh before stretching his arms and looking around, noticing the empty cafe. Wasn't it full just a moment ago? Then he glanced at Marcel, who was standing up to ask why the other customers were gone. Marcel wondered if he didn't notice that a few minutes after they entered the shop, all the guests were quietly replaced with guards. Leon knew that Marcel knew those two, so he asked who they were. Those two are Lady Martine Reslazia and Lord Frederick Townsend. Leon immediately recognized that surname. It's not what he's thinking, right? Unfortunately, it is. Martine is indeed this country's first princess. Leon's soul almost left his body and got reincarnated back in the modern world. That was beyond just high status. She's basically royalty. Meanwhile, Frederick is from the Duke Townsend family. He is the third son of the former Duke. Despite being only 18, he's already in the royal guard. He's also talented, and people say he'll be granted knighthood. He's very well known among nobles. Leon panicked. He didn't know they were such important people. Won't he be scolded for being disrespectful? Martine even shared food with him. No, more importantly, they're coming to their diner soon. What should he do? Marcel tried to calm him down since it seems like they've taken a liking to him. Martine even gave a subtle signal not to call her a princess. So wouldn't it be best to just act normally? Tears dripped down Leon's cheeks. Even if he says that, he can't do that. Wait, was it okay to tell him all this? Marcel answered affirmatively. She actually told him to quietly reveal their identities on the way out. Anyway, they're amazing people, but he understands now they're also kind. He'll try not to worry about it too much. Yeah, that's for the best. Marcel sighed. He's kinda tired today, so he thinks he'll head home early, but he's glad Leon wasn't alone for this. Leon agreed. He was very thankful to him for being there. 3 days later, a lot happened in the Central District, but Leon tried to spend his time not thinking about it, like always. Still, hiding his attribute by himself makes him uneasy. So, he decided to talk, and came to Marcel's workshop today, believing he'll understand. Marcel wondered what brought Leon to his workshop today, and asked if he thought of a new magical tool. Leon assured himself that it'll be fine as he responded that it was about his attribute. It seems he went to get his mana measured, so Marcel asked how it went. Well, his mana is 5, and his attribute was healing. Marcel was pleasantly surprised because 5 is the highest possible value. Noticing Leon's expression, Marcel asked what was wrong. Leon scratched the back of his head. Actually, when he tried using other attributes, it seems he can use all of them. Marcel's eyeballs almost popped out of shock. He stood up, asking if that was true. To prove that it is, Leon tried using them all. Marcel couldn't believe it. He kept mumbling that, "It's the apostle," confusing Leon. What does that even mean? He called out to Marcel, but he wasn't responding, until he was almost shouting. That's when Marcel finally acknowledged him. Marcel bowed, apologizing. But Leon stopped him as he wasn't the apostle, but just himself. Marcel countered that being able to use all the attributes makes him the apostle, but Leon cut him off, asking him to calm down. After a while, Marcel sat back down and apologized for losing his composure. He just thought only the apostle could use all attributes, so he got carried away. Leon asked what the apostle was, and Marcel explained that the apostle is said to be a person sent by the gods who could use all attributes and possessed vast knowledge. There's supposedly a record from hundreds of years ago, but since then, no one has been able to use even 2 attributes. So, someone like that existed. Leon looked down on his palms, wondering if he's the apostle. He can use all attributes, and he's reincarnated, so he has knowledge, though all of that knowledge is only partial. He's never even seen a god, or even knew they existed. If that's the case, he's not the apostle, and hasn't been sent by the gods. Marcel understood before sighing. If the apostle had returned, people's faith might have been restored. Since the apostle appeared hundreds of years ago, the number of people who believe in Lady Micheline has dwindled. He believes they should have more faith. It seems the god of this world is Lady Micheline. Come to think of it, the church did mention her. Leon asked how influential the church is nowadays, but Marcel just shook his head. It's basically non-existent. The church is state-run, so most of the people working there are government employees. Leon thought that was good. Since the church is state-run in this world, that probably means no complicated religion versus politics conflicts. Then, he apologized for disappointing Marcel's expectations. Marcel assured him that it's fine, and apologized for getting off topic. About his attribute, Marcel was curious why he can use all attributes if he's not the apostle. Leon was wondering the same thing, so he wanted to actually ask him. Until now, no one aside from the apostle has ever been able to use more than 2 attributes. Isn't that the case? Marcel agreed, and warned Leon not to tell anyone until he had powerful allies he could trust. If he doesn't keep his power hidden, foreign nations or dangerous nobles might come after him. Worst case, his family could be targeted too. So, until he gains the power to protect his family, he'd better keep it a secret. That's why he really should attend the royal school and become a government official to earn people's trust. That way, his abilities might get him a spot as a royal aide or noble. And to do that, the absolute requirement is to graduate from the royal school. After that conversation, Leon talked about the magic tools. He thought of a fire magic tool for cooking and a cold box-like thing for preserving food. Those 2 have been researched forever, but no one's succeeded yet. Especially fire magic since it melts the magisteel and breaks easily. That makes sense. In that case, insulation materials might work. No, wait. Magic stones won't activate unless they touch magisteel. That's not something Leon could handle with his current knowledge. As for the cold box, they couldn't even make ice yet, but that's not a problem because Leon can make ice. Marcel was surprised and asked how he did it. Leon borrowed a cup so he could try it. First he used water magic and made water just on the verge of freezing. Then he gave the water a little stimulus, and tada, it's now ice. Marcel asked if anyone with water magic could do this. Leon had modern knowledge, so he can visualize and create it. But if they simplify the concept, maybe a lot of people in this world can do it too. Leon tried doing it again while putting himself on the people from this world's shoes, and succeeded. If someone has enough mana and they imagine water that freezes when stimulated, they could cast it. In that case, they'll have someone who can do magic try it. More importantly, has he decided on the shape of the magic tool? That's right. Leon was thinking something like a tall box shape. The inner box will be made of iron, and there will be shelves so they can store things. They can put the ice-creating tool inside, so only that part needs magisteel, and a door to keep the cold in. It's called a refrigerator. How about it? Since Magisteel is rare, they should conserve it. Marcel thought his idea was great, but with that structure, isn't it more of an ice maker than a refrigerator? He's right, so Leon suggested not making the box itself and limiting the usage, but just creating a magic tool that makes ice and call it an ice maker. Marcel thought that was better and suggested that Leon himself try making one. Marcel brought out a Magisteel and a bunch of mana stones. With a mana level of 5, Leon can definitely handle Magisteel, so he explained how to do it. He has to touch the Magisteel, visualize the shape he wants to form, and channel mana into it. Then it'll change into that shape. Leon gave it a try. First he visualized the shape he wanted it to take, then channeled his mana, and wow, it really changed shape. Magisteel is amazing. What is this all-purpose material? Leon told Marcel he was done, and when Marcel took a look at the Magisteel, he asked why he made it in this shape. There also seemed to be 2 holes for magic stones. Leon made it large so the ice won't melt easily. With this size, the center won't get stimulated properly, so by stimulating both the center and the outside at the same time using wind magic, they get a well-formed ice. Marcel informed him that until now, no one has ever embedded 2 kinds of magic stones in a single magic tool. It feels like explaining common sense to him is pointless. Anyway, they decided to try it out. First, Leon inserted the wind magic stone. He checked if the wind was coming out properly inside the box, and fortunately, it was. Next, the water magic stone. Water came out of the bottom, and when the wind stimulated it, the water froze, becoming ice. He called Marcel to tell him that it's finished, and Marcel thought it was incredible. It looks like it could be used to preserve food even in summer, and the ice is better quality than before. The fact that it's made using this method means even someone with magic power rank 5 would need to cooperate with someone of a different attribute. This will sell well. They should have someone with a water attribute and a magic rank 5 test if they can make ice. Then they'll have it registered at the royal palace. Leon was worried that someone would try stealing the idea, but Marcel assured him not to worry as he'll ask a trustworthy friend. No one would come up with something like this anyway. He'll also deposit the reward into his account, so he should make sure to check it. Leon finally felt relieved and thanked him. Meanwhile, at the Townsend estate 3 days ago, Frederick walked through the hallway, wondering about Leon's identity. Thinking back to the first time they met, Leon suddenly spoke with language unfitting of a commoner. That kind of speech is only used by wealthy merchants who deal with nobles. At the time, he pretended to accept his excuse, but it's just too suspicious. Could he be a spy from another country? If he is, it wouldn't be strange even for a child to receive that kind of education. But even if he had his people investigate him, there was nothing strange about his family or background. And yet, no one in his surroundings speaks like that. So, where? From whom? Just when he thought of going to the diner and speaking with him again, he ran into him in the central district. Leon might be a spy. Even though he was being cautious and acting natural so he wouldn't be suspected, Martine made it impossible for him to make a move. Why? Just why is she trying to become friends with someone like him? And then somehow, the 4 of them ended up going to a cafe together. Then, when Martine said she wanted to visit Leon's family diner, his quick thinking and reasoning in that moment isn't something an ordinary commoner could possess. But if he were a spy, his facial expressions are too rich, making his thoughts easy to read. And his table manners, if he were infiltrating as a commoner, it would be unnatural. A spy would try not to stand out, but he constantly does without realizing. If he's doing this all by calculation, then Frederick doesn't understand the reason. Considering that his investigation came up clean, Leon is likely not a spy. Then, where did he learn that speech, behavior, and literacy? It's all a mystery. But one thing's clear, he's competent. He might become someone useful to the ducal house in the future. Next time he delivers the materials, he'll try to investigate more. He should probably report this to his father and the others. While sharing a meal with the former Duke Richard Townsend, Frederick informed him about Leon. Richard questioned why he didn't stop them. Even if Leon was competent and likely not a spy, it's far too dangerous for Martine to visit Leon's diner. That's what Frederick thought as well, but he wasn't strong enough to stop her. However, if permission is granted, he will escort her with the utmost caution. Richard sighed. There's no point in lamenting what's already done. Then, he asked about Leon, so Frederick told him about how Leon wants to attend the Royal Academy and suggested letting him commute from their estate to avoid attention, since their eldest is enrolling this year as well. That could work. All right, Richard will allow it. But first, he wanted to meet him at least once. A few days later, Leon and his family were running their diner like usual, and were about to wrap up when someone suddenly entered. Leon paused mid-greeting when he saw who it was. It was Frederick. He rushed to greet him and asked what brought him here today. Actually, Frederick came to talk to him about something. Then, he lowered his voice and asked Leon to keep quiet about him being a noble. Leon agreed, and led him inside and sat him down. Since Frederick would like to eat lunch first, he took his order, which was a steak set. While Leon was waiting for the food to finish cooking, Marie approached him and carefully asked if Frederick was his friend and whether he's okay. She must have been feeling uneasy as she began using polite speech, so Leon assured her that he was fine and was a friend of his. So, he'll take care of Frederick himself, and she can handle the other customers. At that moment, Rowana emerged from the kitchen and told Leon that the steak was ready to be served. After finishing the steak set, Frederick called Leon to inform him that he told his family about him, and they said they'd love to meet him, so he'd like to invite him to dinner tonight. Leon's eyes widened in shock and asked if it was okay if he asked his parents first. Frederick agreed, he'll be going with him as well. But Leon thought him being a noble was supposed to be a secret. Well, publicly, yes. But since he's taking responsibility for him, he'll need to reveal his status to his parents. Otherwise, they'd worry. That makes sense. Though, Leon thinks they'll still worry even if they do tell them. He's not wrong. His parents were, to say the least, dumbfounded after finding out about it. Frederick explained that he talked about Leon with his family the other day. After that, they said they'd like to meet him at least once and suggested inviting him to dinner. He apologized for causing any concern. It's just his family's honest curiosity, so they don't need to worry about it too much. Rowana and Jean looked at each other before bowing down and asking Frederick to take good care of Leon. Frederick assured them that he will. Since it'll be late tonight, they'll keep him overnight and will be brought home safely tomorrow, so they don't need to worry. Then he turned to Leon to inform him that they're heading out from here. Leon agreed and bid his parents goodbye. They got on the carriage belonging to the ducal house, the one Frederick uses when traveling in secret. Leon looked around in amazement. The seats were soft, unlike the carriage they rode when they went to the central district, and there was even a magic tool on the carriage's ceiling. He turned back to Frederick and asked why exactly he was invited to their house. Frederick assured him that there was no need to be nervous, as his parents simply said they wanted to meet him. But his father's a duke, isn't he? Frederick denied. His older brother inherited the title, so his father is currently the former duke. Apparently, in this country, when the son turns 15, the title is passed on and it's customary for him to serve at the royal palace. But he's still considered high-ranking regardless. Leon questioned if there's a particular reason they want to meet him. Also, why is he so concerned about him? Frederick was about to speak but caught himself, contemplating. Finally, he sighed and decided to be honest for Leon to understand. At first, he suspected that he might be a spy from another country. But after investigating and speaking to him directly, nothing seemed suspicious. That cleared up the doubt, but his intelligence and behavior are far too exceptional for a commoner's child. So, from the perspective of the Duke's family, bringing him over to their side is the best choice. That's the reason why. So, he really was being suspected. Leon had no idea he was being investigated, but this might be a chance to gain support. He was glad that the suspicions were cleared up, and being held in such high regard by Frederick makes him really happy, so he was very thankful. Once they got to the Townsend house, Leon's jaw dropped to the floor at how beautiful and massive it was. The butler, Alban, greeted both of them, and Leon bowed, greeting him back. Frederick told him not to hesitate speaking with the staff if anything comes up since he's an invited guest. Then, he bid Leon goodbye. They'll see each other again at dinner. For the meantime, the maid will escort him to his room. Leon thanked them, but he was internally panicking. How could Frederick leave him here already? Being left alone here feels super unsettling. The maid introduced herself as Ants. She was tasked to show Leon to his room. Leon bowed his head and also introduced himself. Ants smiled, asking him to raise his head. He's an honored guest, so he didn't need to bow to the staff. However, Leon thought he needed to do that as he was just a commoner. But Ants insisted that since he's a guest, he shouldn't do that. Now then, she'll escort him to his room. Leon couldn't keep his mouth closed as they walked around the mansion. There was a grand staircase, a chandelier, and luxurious paintings. Even the flowers feel high-end. A noble's mansion is incredible. This feels like some kind of divine visitation for real. They stopped before a door, where Ants gestured for Leon to enter. Even the guest bedroom is incredible. It's like being in a luxury hotel. Ants asked Leon to take a seat as she'll now review his schedule. There's about an hour left until dinner, so first he'll take a bath. Then they'll have him change clothes. Hearing her words, Leon asked if they had clocks here, to which Ants replied with yes. Every room in the Duke's estate is equipped with one, and the servants carry this model of clock with them as well. So there really are clocks in this world. Leon asked to look at the servant's clock, so Ants handed it to him. The hour hand, minute hand, second hand, and the numbers from 1 to 12 is exactly the kind of clock he knew. He asked if the time here is counted in 24 hours a day, meaning it should be 4:05 right now. Ants answered affirmatively. Can he read clocks as well? His polite speech feels natural too. He's truly an impressive child. Most servants hired in the estate struggle with just those two at first. That's right. Leon was lucky someone nearby taught him. He's actually surprised. This world really has so many things in common with the world he knew. And so, Ants gestured to the bathroom door, where Leon could go and bathe with her assistants. Once inside, Leon sat on a chair while Ants rubbed his hair with shampoo, asking how he felt. She was glad to hear that Leon felt really good, and rinsed the shampoo off. Then she asked if he'll be washing his body himself. When he replied that he will, she decided to wait outside. Once left alone, Leon rubbed his body with a towel. He tried using water magic to heat up bathwater once, though he couldn't get it warmer than room temperature. But here, they use tap water to rinse off after soaking. Then, heat it to a suitable temperature with magic. Because there aren't any high-tier magic tools, they hire assistants with level 2 magic power or above. He scooped up some water and rinsed off the soap in his body. He thought, how could someone need help just for bathing? But without a shower, it'd be tough without help. He sighed, submerging himself in the tub. A bath really does feel amazing. He's so jealous of the nobles that get to bathe every single day. Must be nice. Once he was done, he emerged from the bathroom wearing a robe. Ants was waiting outside to help him change and fix his hair. Leon was confused about what she meant by changing clothes since he didn't bring anything, so she told him that Frederick prepared clothes for him to change into. After getting his hair fixed, Leon put on the clothes Frederick prepared for him and was guided by Ants to the dining hall, where everyone was waiting for him. He bowed as soon as he entered, introducing himself and showing gratitude for being invited to this dinner tonight. Richard welcomed Leon and asked him to take a seat. Then he introduced himself, his wife, Catherine, their second son, Julian, and their third son, Frederick. They also have an eldest son and daughter, but they've already moved out, so introductions can wait for another time. For now, they should enjoy their meal. Dishes Leon would have never been able to taste if he wasn't invited to this dinner were served. And after the meal, Richard brought up what he wanted to talk to him about. He actually had something to ask Leon. Right now, nobility in this country is split into two factions. One believes in cooperation regardless of status, and supports giving opportunities to talented commoners and nobles alike. They belong to his faction. The other believes the long-standing noble families should be preserved, and status between commoners and nobles strictly enforced. This country system was established several centuries ago by the apostle, and important laws were put into place. In exchange for privileges, nobles were expected to guarantee commoners basic livelihood and safety. One key rule is not to control commoners, but to coexist with and support them. These principles were the foundation of their country. But lately, faith in Lady Micheline has been waning, and more voices are saying they no longer need to follow these rules. Leon listened intently. There's that term again. Apostle. But it's thanks to those rules that the Duke's family treats a commoner like him sincerely. He can only be grateful to the apostle. Richard continued. Frederick told him that Leon is a remarkably capable commoner, and now, having observed him himself, he completely agrees. He won't ask where exactly he learned all that. Instead, he wants him to lend his strength to their faction. Richard even went as far as to bow to Leon, sincerely pleading that he agrees. Chapters end at 8. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you love this manga. Have a good day.